My life is unfortunately very similar to those who I grew up with. Life in post-industrial Barnsley isn't ripe with opportunities for those not wanting to work in call centres or in building trades. I left school with no qualifications and a feeling that I was disengaged with the whole process of education. I never felt pushed or encouraged to achieve anything, and I just coasted along. After school, I started upon a path that would characterise most of my 20s. I was forced to live alone at a young age and drifted inevitably, some would argue, into taking heroin. With the benefit of hindsight, I come to realise I started down that path through frustration. I was frustrated at the missed opportunity to build a decent future for myself. I always knew I was bright, I just never felt pushed or encouraged. I eventually kicked the habit through grit and determination and settled into a call centre job that grounded me. There was, however, still that underlying feeling of frustration shadowing me. After 4 or 5 years of coasting along, pushing my luck, I was having yet another disciplinary with my manager. She took me to one side and said, "Lee, you're clearly bright, but you wasted here." And her exact words were, "If you don't go and make something of yourself, I'll have to sack you." That was the first time in 29 years someone had ever said to me that I was bright, and it was exhilarating. Within a week, I was signed up at Northern College. During my interview, I was asked what interested me. I explained I had a passion for modern history, and it was whilst discussing my views on Trotskyism that I was stopped mid-sentence and told, "Lee, it's okay, you can stop now. You can finally be yourself. You're among like-minded people." And that was the first time in 29 years that someone took an interest in my opinion. I could finally start to let go of all the negativity and frustration I had accumulated through my life. Put simply, Northern College transformed my life. I started in September as a world-weary, frustrated and very angry young man. I left in May supremely confident in myself, articulate, healthy and happy. To put into words what happened in that 9 months is extremely difficult. Imagine going through life angry at yourself, knowing you're right, but not having an outlet for it. To be then put in an environment where you are nurtured, encouraged and allowed to blossom. It was exhilarating to say the least. I truly felt that I could be myself. I was doing extremely well in my studies and I felt at home. Northern College allows students to get the qualification to better themselves, but also gives you so much more. I found myself in political debates with staff and students, questioning them and their experiences in life, and ultimately becoming critical about my own views and experiences. I learned to use my experience as a drug user as something positive instead of letting it weigh me down constantly. The option to live in at college during those 9 months helped me immeasurably. I found I could immerse myself in studies if I wanted. I could speak to staff, not just about academic work, but their views on life and their own experiences. Most importantly though, the option to live in at Northern College meant I was physically removed from all the hustle and bustle of normal life and I could concentrate on myself 100%. Every time I felt I had reached the peak of my abilities, Northern College raised the bar for me just a little higher. They encouraged me and praised me in equal measure. I joined the student union where I was president, where I organised, I counselled and we were political. A far cry from my time living alone, taking drugs or working in the call centre. I wrote and gave speeches at awards ceremonies where the college had won. I spoke to Ofsted inspectors with the principal, where the outcome of the inspection was that the college was deemed outstanding. I even had the chance to visit Parliament and meet with other representatives of adult colleges. I was being pushed by the college even after I left. I was invited back to speak at the celebration event where I last spoke, following on from Jill Westerman, Malcolm Ball, Angela Smith and David Plunkett, who was very encouraging towards me, saying I should seriously consider politics as a vocation. Today, I stand here telling you my story, trying to put into words what happened during those 9 months I spent at Northern College, and it's very difficult. I know I went there with vague ideas about who I was and what I was about, but I left galvanised and focused and ready to achieve my potential. I've completed my first year at Sheffield Hallam, where I'm studying modern history. I have a solid relationship with my son, who now is the role model to look up to that I never had. I'm considering job options, either staying on at university and teaching at that level, or getting more involved in politics. Again, something that 5 years ago I wouldn't have even dreamt of. I've learned how to believe in myself, and Northern College was the catalyst that triggered that belief. So to be here today is obviously a great honour, a testament to the hard work of Northern College and I. Unfortunately, the government is presiding over cuts to the adult education system, and it truly baffled me. Just to have the option to go back into education is a lifeline for many people. People need the light at the end of the tunnel after rehabilitation, either from drugs or prison. And to dim or extinguish that light, to me, is counterproductive and wrong. But that's just my opinion. A Barnsley lad who entered back into education 3 years ago, albeit at a working class college and now to a working class university. Compare my meagre education to those who are in power now. Surely if I can spot the flaws in slashing funding to the adult education fund and the devastating effects it would have on people, then one would think they can spot the flaws too. But what do I know? Thank you.
You can tell from the clapping, I thought that was amazing. I think it is a truly inspiring story. It still gets the hairs on the back of my neck standing up. So thank you very much, and good luck in your career. And there are a few MPs here who might be able to help you and give you some advice. I suspect they won't advise you to come in, but you never know. Just to remind you, we've got the award winners profile book over here if you want a copy of those. There's lots of examples of different people whose stories are, I think, equally as inspiring and remarkable. We've got one last speaker, because what we try to do in Adult Learners Week and the awards is to think about all of the different types of learner and learning and organisations that get involved. And this year, the President's Award, and Nick, our President over there, was given to the Humber LEP for Local Enterprise Partnership for the work they've been doing to try to bring together education and employers in their region to create more opportunities for people to learn and to improve and to really tackle those skill shortages and productivity issues that I talked about earlier. So I'm really, really pleased that Mike Parker, who's the chair of the Employment Skills Board of the LEP, is here to have to spend a few minutes with us. So Mike, thank you.
Thank you. What I really want to do today is to, in a short space of time, is to talk a little bit about business involvement in this agenda. But before I really get stuck into that, one thing I would like to say is the Humber LEP has, I think, moved forward in the way it's moved forward because of a very strong collaborative approach across the entire region. And one of the very strong things that we have in the region is people working together, often competitors, training institutions that are competing for student numbers, quite frankly, working together on a common agenda. So, although I'm going to talk about business in particular and the business aspect, I really want to recognise that wider inclusion. The thing about business and the thing about employers generally is, without exception, and it is without exception, as I've sort of taken this role for the last 2 years, I've gone around the Humber and I've met people from all sorts of different industry sectors and different types of institutions, and they all talk about the skills gap and as the biggest single challenge they face going forward. And there may be some technical problems and some particular issues around their own industries, but that is so common. Yet at the same time, and this is a frustration, I'll make a very general point here. Of course, a lot of employers don't recognise their own role in helping to solve that problem. And that's really what I want to address today, and hopefully share a few learnings that we've had about how we've gone about dealing with that issue. I mean, the reality is that, the Humber LEP, let me just talk about a structural point first, because although I don't know all the other LEPs, some of them have skills high on the agenda, some of them have less high on the agenda. The Humber LEP is actually a business-led LEP. The chair, the two vice chairs, of which I'm one, and the majority of the board members are from a local business background. And in itself, that makes the whole discussion about skills and learning much easier, because you're starting from that base, from point one. And I think that is no small way, that small structural point has pushed skills right up onto the agenda of the Humber LEP. Yet at the same time, I chair the Employment Skills Board, as was said, and we have employers around the table. They don't turn up very often. And actually, the mechanic to involve in business, one of the early learnings, was that they're not actually people who are going to sit in meetings for 2 or 3 hours, listening to a lot of language about specialist education and training language, talking about grades, apprenticeship systems, and the whole structural side funding arrangements. They don't really want to hear